Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the Black and Wright Podcast. I'm here with Dante Black, and we are excited to have a new guest on for our Saturday. But before we go on, if you missed last week's episode or Wednesday's episode, my bad, make sure to go back and check it out. It was a good episode, our Valentine's Day episode. However, this episode should be very, very, very interesting. We have a guest up on here. We have a author, a life coach, a college grad with a doctorate degree, a former pastor, a former professor, an entrepreneur, and lastly, but not least, my mom, Dr. Ane Mercer.
Well, hello, buddies. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so honored to be on one of your shows.
Let's go. We're honored for you being
Thank
here.
you for having me.
Yes. So to begin this podcast, yes, thank you for coming. To begin this podcast, we wanted to ask you a little bit about yourself. If you could give us a little bit of a rundown about yourself.
Okay. Well, which part? Look, what part do you want to know?
About
But
any rundown, just give us something.
Who is Ane Mercer?
who is Ane Mercer? That's
Yes.
a lot. Well, I was born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. To My parents' name was Kathy and Donnie Coward. And I was raised by a father who was a performer. He used to travel and do concerts opening up for James Brown and the Jackson Five and Mick Jagger. So the Hollywood scene is something I was introduced to at a very young age. I grew up, and I'm quite sure we would kind of journey on into that subject of my life, how I became who I was. But became, long story short, became a single teenage mom at age 17. Had my first son at age 18. And I was so determined to be somebody great, to beat the odds of the statistic, that I began college my college matriculation. And so I've always been an overachiever because I felt like if I could achieve higher, I would give my kids a certain standard for them to either meet or surpass. So then I went to the University of Tennessee, and I was sitting in a physics class, and the Holy Spirit said to me, I want you to go into ministry. And I'm like, the devil is a lie, because I'm a fighter. But I love to fight. But I did. I went to Johnson Bible College and then went on to several other biblical studies universities and landed me here. So you'll hear a lot more about who I am and why I became who I am later in this
Great.
broadcast.
That's great. You took a lot. You said a lot. That's good. But I wanted to go back a little bit
Okay.
to your younger years.
hmm
You said your father was a entertainer for many different groups, and were you ever around to experience some of those things, like meet
Oh
people?
God, absolutely. Like there's James Brown owned a radio station, WJBE, in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so
Mhm.
we would go to the radio station. I've met James Brown, I've met Michael Jackson when he was with Jackson 5. I met y'all probably don't know Jimmy JJ Walker from Good Times. He used to be a stand-up comic. And
Mhm.
so my father had me around different performers, because even as a little girl, like when we had family birthday parties or whatever, he would have me stand up and sing. Donna Summer's Last Dance. He used to have me sing it because he would tell me over and over again, one day the world is going to know your name. you know, God is going to use you. So you're going to be this great performer. And I just knew that I was going to go to Hollywood and just become this blow up artist or this blow up actress. And God just had another plan. So yes, I did. I was around great names all the time.
That's great. That's great.
Were there any of were there any anybody that you like met at a young age that like influenced you to like as sort of like a mentor at that point, or not too much?
You know, Dante, it's weird because the people that my father had me around, none of them influenced my life. But I remember because as Sedarrius know, I grew up in a very violent household. Like in spite of the the entertainment, and my mother worked hard in a factory at Levi Strauss. Our home life was very nerving. Like it was, we were always on edge because my father also was an alcoholic. So it was always fighting and cussing and throwing stuff, and so I grew up a nervous child. But this one particular day, um I used to stay in my room, and so I used to take my brother and hide in my room and hide in closets and hide under my bed. But this one particular day, my mom and father were fighting, and I went in my room and saw Breakfast at Tiffany's. And I saw all those women with these beautiful black dresses on. And I was like, I'm going to have a party like that one day. I'm going to have a party where every woman in the room would come. And literally from age 9 up until it materialized and came into fruition, I think about 10 years ago, that was my determination that I was always going to be a lady. I was always going to dress. I was always going to be beautiful, because you don't know when you were going to have breakfast at Tiffany's. So my iconic figures um, came at a very vulnerable stage in my life, and I'm very different. I was a different child. So yeah, it was Katharine Hepburn through that one show, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
So you would say in a way that you were kind of in a way self motivated, like you set yourself up for a goal and you didn't let anything sway you from that goal.
I did. I always knew that I was going to be an influencer. I just knew it. I will all even as a little girl, I would like kind of be the leader of my cousins. I would have them doing, like cheering outside or exercising, or I felt like I always had to not dominate, but I had to control something and run something. I knew that there was something in me. And I remember age 14, I never forget this. People ask me, how do I know that the hand of God was on my life? I remember at age 14 having this dream that I was standing outside of my grandmother's gate, and the heavens rolled back, and I saw this finger write my name in the clouds, and then it closed up. And I felt this presence in the dream, and I woke up. I was like, I'm different. And so I always felt like I had to, if I was when I was in track, I ran junior Olympics, I had to win. Like winning has always been in my blood. And so I just knew that one day people was going to know Ann Coward. That was my maiden name, and everybody know I'm not a coward, but but I just knew that I don't know if it was self-motivated or if the Holy Spirit has always had this untapped reservoir in me that was protected even through a little girl being molested and being raped and being living that life and having to live this life of being unprotected. It was always a part of me that knew, in spite of what I'm going through, I was going to be somebody great. Didn't know how it was going to come. I just knew I was going to touch the world some kind of way.
So
So this,
um
my
oh,
bad.
my bad, my fault. I was just gonna I was
Oh,
gonna
I
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Dante.
I was just gonna ask. I know Sedaris mentioned like self motivation. Was it like a self motivation thing? But do you feel like as you mentioned, like you said, God was with you through your entire journey. Do you feel like He was the one really carrying you, or was there something else like within you that was helping you get through all the tough times and things like that? Or do you feel like God was just that shoulder to lean on, or did you have other people in your corner to talk to and like things of that nature?
Okay, so when you're small, when you're a child, you feel uncovered and left alone because there are there are four major voices that shape our lives. It's our parents, our family home, it's our teachers, it's our our family unit that we're around. It's our mother and fathers, it's our teachers, it's our family units. And then there are, like, in our modern day 21st centuries, we would say it is coaches, or if God gives you a mentor. So all my life I've grown up and had special people like my track coaches or my basketball coaches or my best friends' mothers to give me that picture of what normancy was looked like as a family. Or so um I didn't know anything about God being with me. Okay. But I remember this, and it's in a book that I wrote, that my mother, I remember finding on a piece of paper that my mother did not want us anymore. And so we had to go live with our dad. My dad didn't have time for us, so we had to go live with my grandmother, excuse me, for the summer in Cincinnati. And that's where the bulk of my molestation happened as a little girl. And I was so angry. It made me so angry because I felt like I was by myself. But I remember praying one day. It was storming outside. I remember asking God to let it stop and to protect me. God is my witness. After I got finished praying that small prayer, I looked up on the wall, and over the door, a cross appeared, like the water was leaking from the ceiling, but it came in the form of a cross. And that's when my molestation stopped that day. So looking back in hindsight, I know God was with me. But back then, I didn't feel like I had God. I just felt like either it's I think some things are just innate in our bloodline and our DNA. And my father
Mhm.
was a fighter, my mother was a fighter, and one of the things I did see in them was, you don't complain. You just keep going. It'll fix itself. It'll work itself out. So even as a little girl, I had to adopt that. You know, when someone should have been protecting me, I felt like I had to now protect myself. So that's when we see the not only the generational curses manifesting in our lives, but we start shaping our realities of how our life should be. So I became a fighter at a young age, opened the door with anger. I was like a ticking time bomb, even as a
Mhm.
little girl. So to
So,
answer your question,
okay, my bad.
excuse me, I mean cut you up, but kind of answer
Mhm.
your question. Um, in hindsight, God was with me, but then I just felt like, okay, you gotta protect yourself. You gotta fight your way out of this.
So, in I understand you said that you saw the cross come up. You said you saw the cross through the window, through the water.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask. You said you had a child at an early age, which was my oldest brother, but you had a child at an early age. Do you think that majority of what came, like what made that situation happen, was brokenness from when you were younger?
Absolutely. I was, I tell people this when I coach them: if you are a broken or fractured child, you're going to be a broken, fractured teenager. You're going to be a broken, fractured adult until someone intervenes into your life and shows you a better plan. Because I didn't, in those days when we grew up, you don't tell your family's business. You don't, you don't
Hmm.
let nobody know what's going on in our house. And then when my father left my mother, and so there's, my story, my father left my mother for another man. So in hindsight, I'm thinking he struggled the whole marriage to be a man. When back in those days in the early 70s, people lived the alternative lifestyle, but it wasn't something that, you could lose your life over because it wasn't as prominent or accepted as it is now. It was secretive. So my father struggled. Like I came home as a little girl sometimes and I would see my father, with makeup on, or I'm like, why are your lips red? Or why you got on mama's scale? Or I saw different things. And so um when he did that for years, listen to me, if you're looking at this broadcast and you a father, every little girl needs her father. She needs her father to speak into her life, to groom her, to tell her how beautiful she is. Because if you leave that little girl open, she's going to look for you in different men, because the father serves as the first ability, or shows that female how to love. She will love her father well, because until at the age of 12, when my father left us, he taught me how to perform, and he was there. um we were always together, but he wasn't a whole man, you know what I'm saying? And so it really made me look for my father in different situations and in different. That's why I'm so open and transparent with my children, and even transparent with my mentees, or how I minister, because I believe when God takes you through something and you get healed from it, it's not for us to keep it. And so it is valuable. That's why I speak into my children's lives. No, I'm not a perfect mother, because there's no perfect parenting doesn't come with a book to teach us how to do it. You will make mistakes. And so I became a byproduct of the different series of events that happened to me as a child. Then I started raising children at age 5, getting my little brother ready for school, the bus, because my mother had to work and my daddy had to work. So the
Mm.
responsibility fell on me in getting my little brother ready. So of course, we know the difference between right and wrong. I was 17, I knew the difference. But here this guy is, he's the guy of the school, and he likes me, right? He's driving a Porsche. His family has money, and he likes me, the fighter, the girl that will knock your head off in a minute. But he brought a calming to me. And then him and his family, um, I was around them all the time because I didn't have one, what I thought. And so by society structure, being a single mom at this point with my mother, your family dynamic, you're not a whole family. And so it took me growing up being a single mom to say, I can't teach you how to be, I never can teach you how to be a man, to my sons, but I sure can show you a hell of a lot what a woman should be. And so I think with those dynamics, I had to take authority back over what society said that a single mom can't do, and be what a single mom can do. And so, yes, that opened up the door, because the Johnsons showed me so much love and acceptance. I thought that was what family looks like. And when I got pregnant with Jamal, when I had him, I mean, I held him like he was life, because he was life for me. And I knew that I had to change my life and make my life better, because now I'm a mother. And so he really introduced me to what unconditional love was. And I wanted to give him what I never received.
Okay, so about with your, I, I I've always, like you said earlier, you said you always like to, as a single mom, you always like to teach us. I think you've been a single mom for pretty much your entire time raising kids,
Yeah.
and like, even like when it came to, I'll use me because I can't speak for my other siblings, but sometimes I get what you mean, like with having, you said little girls having to find a father figure in certain things. I think it's I think it's just as important for guys to
I
find a
agree.
father figure, because in my opinion, from when it came to me, it it's not it's not necessarily that you it's a level that you there's some points in life where you just need a father.
Absolutely.
And like when it comes to like whether it be like, I know we just had our Valentine's Day episode, whether it be like with relationships or certain ways how to act around a woman, how to you need to see somebody like show, like you need a man to
Absolutely.
show like what it's like to treat a woman, like it's what it's like to treat a woman, what it's like to responsibility, like responsibility, like you always having a plan. Like that's important. And like that's one thing that you've been teaching me recently when it comes to like just in life in general is having a plan. And like when it came to even this podcast, like when I told you about it, you was like, well, what's your plan? And I was like, well, I don't really know. So I was like, you know what, I got with Dante, we did our thing, we made a plan. That's why it's important to I guess to have somebody there, like you were saying, like God will always put somebody in your life for difficult situations and for great situations like this podcast, because I feel like this podcast wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for Dante, and this podcast wouldn't be nothing like because we both add a different dynamic to everything. But I want to swing back around to something you said earlier. I want to go into your college years. So
Okay.
we're swinging back. So you said so you're I guess you're still I don't know, if you're still not like quite over that childhood trauma by the time you get to college, or is that like
No, I wasn't over it.
uh-huh
No. No, I wasn't over it, but I was aware of it.
mhm
And I think that's the different that makes a difference. But I was aware of it, but I didn't know where to place it or how to get help from it, because counseling back in those days, what? Black people going to counseling? Black people go to
mhm
counseling? First of all, they didn't think it was obtainable. Number two, they didn't think we could afford it. So, and then you think you were crazy because you're going there telling your business. So
mhm
I knew. So what we would do is talk to our girlfriends or talk, to someone who was in there looking at us like, girl, I understand because my mama tripped too, or my daddy tripped too. So you just really didn't have anybody to really talk to. Or in the church world, they'll say pray and God will work it out after a while. Well, mine was alone after a while. So
mhm
I didn't get it counseling until until I got good and grown. But let me circle back to something in your words that you said. I
mhm
think it is equally as important for a father figure to be present, period, or a father to be present, period. But also, um, that father not only speaks into the girl's life but has to speak into the boy's life, of course, you say, to show you how to treat a woman, or all the things that a guy needs talked to about sex, about relationships, about you know puberty, anything that's going on that a man needs to talk to another man about. And because I know, let's talk about you. I know that there were areas in your life that your father was present, right? But when
mhm
he got sick, he couldn't be present. And so I believe that God gave you different role models, even in school. Like when you said the eighth grade teacher said something to you that kind of got you back on path. God will assign you people, because that's what his word said. I'll give you
mhm
people for your life, not just in increments, but for your life. And so the dynamics of a father in the home, sometimes society, you dad in the home. That, well, what if dad is beating mom, but he's in the home? What if dad is being mean to mom, but he's in the home? So I think we have to understand and give some kind of um we got to give some kind of what word I'm trying to find. What do you mean, some definition to, if a dad is in the home, what do we need from him? If I'm,
Mm-hmm.
because some mothers walk away from their children, or some mothers, I've had to be present because of single moms. You have to juggle so much, but I made it a priority to try to be present. I can be in the home, but if you talking to me and I say, "Oh, I'm on the phone," or "I'm doing something," or "I'm working," no, I made it a priority to say, what you're saying is very special to me, or it really means a lot to me. What do you need to talk about? And I tried to not repeat a cycle that I did with you, with your two older siblings, with you and the kids, with you and the twins, because I felt like in college, I did a tour one time with the college choir. I was traveling all over, I was ministering. I thought, oh my God, my name getting big, and but that was valuable because the more access you had, the more relationships you build, the more money you get. So at a young age, I was in my late 20s and early 30s living in a 3,500 square foot house. I had the Mercedes, I had the mink coats, I had it, I had the money, but I was too busy building something versus building relationship that I thought with my children. So that is why now, when you grow up, I rather save my children and have a relationship with my children than to have a big name. Thank God I'm an influencer and my name could be bigger, but I chose, and I rather choose to be a family woman the more that I am, because even in college, even when I was in college, all through years, I still got up every morning and cook breakfast. Y'all never been a cereal Pop Tart. Go get something out of there and let's hurry up. I got up and fixed breakfast. You had lunch, and you've always had dinner. Or I would hire someone to come and cook for y'all, or I would have someone to cook and bring it. So I've always tried to be a present mom. Sometimes when I was part time, so it's the juggle. So I think when we talk about the dynamics of being present in the home, you can be in the home but not be influential in the home. You can be in the home but don't have the right advice or the right wisdom. So I think what we're looking for, we need to be praying, even as young adults. I was telling someone this the other day. If you all still looking at millenniums, you are literally 3 generations behind. You all are Zen generation. Then we have what is called the Alpha Zen generation. That's Amara Ashton. So we have to ask God at every increments in every dispensations of our lives, from a college person younger to an older woman getting my doctorate degree. I had to ask God to teach me and give me wisdom as I was learning not to abandon my home. So even as we're becoming successful and we're working, some dads like, look, boy, I go to work every day. That should show you that I love you. And that's because men show their love through working and through providing and through protecting. And the woman, she's the nurturer. So in some dynamics, married and single, you see both parents working hard, providing and protecting. So I think in this new age, the family needs to be present. The whole family needs to be present. I hope I asked your question,
Mm-hmm.
and I went a little left
Yeah.
to the right, to the left to the right, but yeah.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Now, I do have a question though. Since you mentioned a lot of, so as the last episode, it was a Valentine's episode. We were talking about relationships, things like that a little bit. What's your take on so there's a lot of, in the newer generation, I can say, at least I know my generation. There's a lot of us out here that didn't have that grew up in a single parent household or anything like that, or like a woman doesn't have a father figure or a a kid, a son or a male doesn't have a father figure, or vice versa.
Yeah.
What's your advice to the younger generation in terms of getting into a relationship with somebody that didn't have that dynamic as like they grew up, or either somebody that did have that dynamic and that's talking to somebody that didn't have that dynamic, or vice versa, if that makes sense?
Okay, we're gonna unpack it one at a time.
Okay, that
So,
works.
so Dante, you came from a two-parent home, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you meet a young lady who was raised by a single mother or a single
Hmm.
father. The first thing you're going to have to deal with is the spirit of abandonment
Hmm.
and the spirit of rejection. And then y'all be like, man, she too much, dog. Like, bruh, she be wanting to know where I am. She be wanting to know, she want to know who I'm with. Why I ain't call her back? Why, why I ain't doing why? Because you're dealing with abandonment. You're dealing with a young lady or young ladies. You're dealing with an insecure man or insecure young lady because she's never had nobody to shape her to let her feel like she's wanted or she's needed. The spirit of rejection is huge. It's big. It's a root that's in our souls that it's almost like, I don't want to preach on here, but it's almost like the devil. The devil came into the world. He was an angel. Then he was a snake. By the time we get to the book of Revelation, he's a whole dragon. So guess what? He matures in his size. And what you all don't understand, while you was growing up with mommy and daddy, a disciplinary and want to show you affection, here this little girl is, her daddy left her and she don't even know where her daddy is. She don't know, or her daddy's not even home, or her mama left her and she's raised by a hard man to say, girl, go on, girl, get up, girl, stop crying. So now he's shaping her to be this hardcore girl, or she's raised by a single mom that's a go-getter. And girl, don't you put all your eggs in one basket. There's different things that a single mom would tell her daughters. And so right off the bat, I would say, you got to exemplify patience. You got to ask her the right questions. There's something that calls triggers. So anything you do that looks like something that her daddy or her mama did, the person that abandoned her or rejected her, oh, you gonna get it. You gonna get it. You, you
Mhm.
gonna get it. So have conversation.
Hmm.
How do you handle anger? Do you feel abandoned? Do you feel rejected? I know you all are young and you are young adult. Listen, let me tell you
Mhm.
something. So there is no, I be on him. Be like, what she look like? What she at like? What's her spirit? What's her
All right, all
parents
right.
like? 'Cause listen,
Yeah,
listen,
she does.
Dante,
She
listen,
definitely is.
listen. Sedarrius was, I think he was in the third grade at University Christian, and he
Hmm.
liked this little girl. Her ponytail's about that little. I don't know why he liked this little girl, but
Oh,
anyway,
here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
he loved this little girl. So one day he got in the car. He was like, "Mommy," I said, "What?" I broke up with her. I said, "Why?" Because boy, I saw her mama. I saw her mama. And her mama came to the school with this cutoff shirt and these cutoff shorts. And she had on house shoes. And I was like, stay that way, son. Stay that way. But it showed me too that he really respected how I carried myself as a female and as a
Hmm.
woman. And so a boy's first impression, the mother is that boy's first impression of what real love is.
Hmm.
And so that's why most boys look for their mama in girls.
That's true.
Listen, I was great. Listen, I was going to say something, but they may be looking at this podcast. I don't know what you saw in me. But anyway, we're going to skip that. But anyway, but
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right.
but I,
Okay. Yeah, no names, no names, no names,
but
no names,
but I
no
was going to
names.
say, but you really do. You really You really have to be cognizant of
Oh my
how
God.
what's her upbringing. You
Mhm.
know, where a lot of people, I know my kids, all of my kids are like this. They don't like someone being loud, raising their, but the only time you hear me being loud is when I'm getting on these twins, or but it's not a disrespectful screaming. You know, it's not like
Mhm.
an abusive way.
Mhm.
So you also have to understand what environments they come from. Because I'm telling you now, if you are a loud female, Sedarrius ain't gonna have nothing to do with you.
Can't,
Like, you can't be
I
loud
can't
and
do it.
we out somewhere and what's up?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
hey.
the
No, we
comes
ghetto.
Oh,
off.
nah, that's dead. That's dead. I can't stand that. Ooh, I can't stand that. Oh
And you
man.
taking a selfie like this?
Oh.
No, we can't. Are you looking back? No, we don't
Nah,
play.
that's crazy. Nah, that's crazy.
Listen, I would
Nah,
say you are not
nah,
it,
nah, nah.
sugar.
That's crazy.
But you
At
have to
all.
understand all those dynamics. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
is she a homebody? What
Mhm.
does she like to eat? You know, is she appreciative? You know, you're not her daddy.
Mhm.
You're not rescuing her. So some
Mhm.
of you all will become loyal. You listen to this. I just heard this. Some of you all young people become loyal picking up the pieces in somebody else. And when you pick up the pieces in somebody else, then you become broken pieces. And
Mm.
because they can't pick up your pieces, you get mad at them and you be like, well, why I can't get back what I put out? Because they don't have the capacity to do it. They're broken
Mhm.
pieces. So y'all looking for somebody cute and got hips and that's fine and she got it all together, but she may be the one that make you emotionally depleted. He may be the one that make you emotionally drained. And I tell my son all the time, you protect your emotional welfare. If that person is always have drama, they don't want you talking to your friends, that's insecurity. Because before you got here, I had friends. And anybody that pulls you away from God first,
Mm. You
anybody that
spitting.
pulls you away from your friendships and it's not disrespectful, I am not going to lower my training, my home training, or lower my peace to make you secure. Can't do it.
Mhm.
Shouldn't do it. And don't give up your booty either.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not.
All right.
You ain't
All
gotta worry
right.
about
I'm
that for
not
me.
either. You ain't
What you talking
gotta. Yeah, that you ain't gotta worry about that. That's crazy.
Listen, let me say this loud and clear. There is nothing wrong with being a virgin in this 21st century. Listen, because that
Oh, man.
listen, I have people who are unit directors at Boys and Girls Club, and they have people who are pregnant 13 and 14 years old. It is okay to say no. It is okay to reframe. It is okay because guess what? Every time you sleep with somebody that's outside that you're not married to, you have a soul tie with them. And a part of you, this doctor taught me this. Let me drop this right here on y'all for a minute because I know y'all young people gonna watch this. Watch this. Every time there is blood vessels in a woman's vagina wall, right? And every time you enter into different females, a part of that blood enters into your penis and gets into your bloodstream. Y'all just looking at me like,
Mhm.
whoa. So it gets in your, you have a how many mix-ups of blood do you have running through your blood? You just think being cool is you just sexing her, sexing her, sexing this, sexing this, sexing this, bend over. I want to get that, hit that. No, what you're doing is you're causing your soul to be in trauma. So by the time you get with your wife, what do you have to offer her? By the
Mhm.
time you meet your wife, what do you have to offer her? I am a grown woman. I've had 5 kids. But when I got divorced, I was determined as a grown woman. That a man will not touch me. I won't be sexually active with a man. You know why? Because I had sons, and I wanted sons to see how a woman could walk upright and live in front of them. I have women who are my mentees. I have women who look up to me, and I couldn't be sleeping with nobody and telling them don't sleep with nobody. What am I saying? I don't
Mhm.
ever want to live a lie. So listen, and then those of you who love God, you can't fail God. There is grace. He will forgive you. But guess what? The greatest treasure that you can give yourself is waiting. It's it's waiting. I had 2 kids out of wedlock and 3 kids through marriage. And it's a whole nother different, it's just different. It's really different. And so you owe it to yourself, young ladies. Listen, I know it's hot down there, but fan it off and keep going. You don't need to be opening your legs to everybody just because they call you cute. There's a way that you can value yourself. Young man, you can value yourself. You a treasure. I teach Sedarrius this. You are a treasure, just like the woman you're going to treasure. And who you want to hit, boys? What if somebody said it about your mom or your sister or your auntie or your godmama? You need to treat them like you would treat your mother. And young ladies, you ought to treat him like you would treat your father. But if you value yourself, you won't devalue yourself.
That's good.
Y'all,
It's
y'all
powerful.
quiet.
That's good. No, we listening.
That's powerful.
You. Hey, listen,
Yeah,
listen.
we soaking up
You started
knowledge.
running with it. We right. That's what
We
the Saturdays
soaking up
are about.
knowledge.
I'm telling you.
That's what the Saturdays are about. This is what we're saying. We want to be able to bridge that gap, like being able, because I mean, everybody has this free knowledge. It would be a disservice if we came up here and just over talked you the entire time. So just letting you speak is just it's speaking to us. And like um I don't want to like I want to kind of move throughout your life as we get through these topics. I know we kind of went to a tangent there, but like so you had I just want to get back on to the topic we were on.
Okay.
You had your first kid at 18, correct?
Yep.
That was Jamal.
Mhm.
And then 4 years later is when you had
Brianna.
my sister.
Mhm.
And I don't yes, so we have my sister Brianna. Yes, I wanted to ask because you're in college, you have 2 kids, and you stopped going to the regular college you were going to, right? Because your life
Mhm.
took a I just wanted to where was your mind at when you left University of Tennessee?
What in the world am I doing? I felt like if I don't graduate from a major university, I'm gonna be a failure. If I don't have this orange and white at the end of my name, I'll never be respected. So I think because I was looking for acceptance and looking for validation, who's going to be proud of me going to Johnson Bible College? Bible College. That's so lame. I was fighting all those thoughts. And then I was like, I have 2 kids. What God, what is God going to do with me? You know, what, why? And I remember I went to the registrar's office. And back in those days, women were not allowed to take ministerial classes. You just had to take Christian education classes, right? And so I was like, no, God is calling me into the ministry. They changed my schedule to Christian education. So I had to fight it to take ministry courses. So they had chapel, and there was one woman who taught chapel class. And I remember going to chapel, and this Caucasian woman came to me and she said, there's a call of God on your life, and God is going to use all of your pain to bless people around the world. I was like, who is this woman? I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And she said, God did not bring you into the world to fit in. He brought you here to be a trailblazer. You've got to stay the course. So every time they change my um they changed me to Christian education, I would go back and change it again. And I was leaving out of the school, and there's two columns that was two columns as I left the school. And one of them said, preach the word in season, out of season, rebuke, reprove, that scripture in First Timothy. I knew then that I was not going to that school just for me. I was going to that school for other women that didn't have a voice. So with a 4-year-old with a little baby, um, I would get a babysitter, or I would take them to class to study courses with me. And they were such good kids. They would sit there and just have their bottle, have their snacks, because I was so determined that I've got to break this cycle. And so when I go to Johnson Bible College and hear people graduating from ministry leadership roles, I'm like, man, I had something to do with that, And so my mindset has always been quitting is not an option to me. I'm from welfare to, I mean, the food stamps, you tear out the book. Y'all don't know nothing about that. But from all of that, I was never going to stay in the system because I was always saying,
Mhm.
I got to live that word my daddy spoke over my life. Yeah. So I just knew I
Okay,
had to win.
that's great. So once you got out of Bible college, once you got out of Bible college, you were still in Knoxville, right? And around that time, weren't you were going to my
um,
dad's church at the time, correct? Or were you?
yes, I was. That's correct. I feel like I'm that. I just felt like I was in the courtroom. Yes, yes, sir. That's correct.
No, I'm trying to
Yeah,
follow it correctly
yeah,
because I'm
you're right.
trying to
You're
piece
right.
everything from what I remember.
Yeah, you're right.
You're in my dad's church. So you've told me all these things about having to fight. I've noticed something you said like throughout this whole entire thing is that your whole life has basically been like fighting, like whether it be physical fighting, fighting to get education, fighting to prove yourself, fighting to just be peace, have peace. That's just like I feel like that's kind of becoming something like I've seen like notice a trend that you've been saying these last uh almost an hour that we've been talking. But I wanted to say like once you got out of Bible college, you have the degree, you have you're certified to be what you're doing. Um, did you run into any other missteps or anything that led you to
Oh, of course I did.
becoming the preacher that you are right now?
Oh, of course I did. Because one thing you have to understand, you can age, but never mature. And you
Mm,
still have to confront the part of you that you're running from. And that was the ugly side of my life. And while when you know my story and I wrote a book about it and I'm really transparent about it, but I messed up. Like when you come from a home abusive, you coming from everything you're coming from and you seeing these different things happen in your family, again, I became a byproduct of a broken home. So you get into this relationship. Hold on, you get into these, you do these things, you
Say
get into these
motivation.
relationships, you get into these relationships, and I had to face the broken side of me, right? And so when this huge scandal came out about my life, um, I had to take ownership. on my part, what I did, you know. And so it was horrible. Oh God, it was horrible. And I broke people and I hurt people. And I think what happens in life, and that's why I'm so honest with you all in your choices and your decisions and how to really guard your life, because what you don't heal, you will always confront somewhere in your life, be it at age 20, 30, 40, 50. And I never wanted my children to face their pain or their unforgiveness, or I've broken generational curses and I've tried to break them and destroy them and annihilate them. But we can do that, but we still have to do with the effect that it causes, right? And so from the effect of all of that, people will forgive you and people won't forgive you. But what I've had to outlive is you can't control what people say about you and what people think about you. If God has forgiven you, then you move on in the grace that He's given you and don't go back into it. So I've had to confront a lot of um, fractures, but thanks be unto God, I know that's broken because I would never go back into that again. But I think the part that I bless God for, that God corrected it when God told me that I'm trying to be politically correct here, right?
Yeah, I
So
understand.
so
I know.
I'm I God told me, get out of this. I never told you to get into this. Give him back, let him go back and restore that marriage. And he did. And that was your father. That's why I tell you all the time, in spite of what you're going to hear, yes, your dad and I did a horrible thing, but to be married wasn't horrible. You wasn't born out of a scandal. You were not. And so, but because of all of that, it caused brokenness everywhere. But what I had to do, and you know this, I had to apologize. I apologized to my mom. I apologized to my family. I apologized to my children. I apologized to his significant other. I apologize and try to make it right. And then, but you saw the effects of the pain when your father passed away. You see what I'm saying? Because if you really don't forgive, situations will trigger it and you will see where people are. And in spite of what they call me, oh, I got to calm down because I feel the presence of God. In spite of what they call me, in spite of how they feel, in spite of what they do, where I've landed, can't nobody take this place away from me, because when you have a reckoning day with God, and that's what I tell young people, you have got to live out your dreams. And people and friends will walk away from you sometimes when you're in the most devastating places in your life, but everybody is not able to walk through your dark place. Some people are only assigned to your shine, but not your valley. You have the choice now. Well, if you can't walk with me in my valley, but you waiting to shine with me, then it's my choice to believe who you really are.
Hmm.
So I had to weigh that balance. And yes, I've confronted a lot of giants. I've had to prove myself. That scandal was so big that people in other church people can be mean, while all alone, what you mad at me over, half of y'all ninjas got two or three girlfriends and boyfriends. So, but when you're on your journey, forgiveness says, I don't expose you, I just focus on me. So I did. I had to confront a lot and I had to overcome a lot. And I never forget this, and I'm gonna finish with this. I remember a great preacher. He's dead and he's dead and gone now. Great influential preacher became my brother. He said, "Let me tell you something. Your character will outlive your past any day when you really get it right.
Mhm.
And when you have something to live for, they don't even bother you no more." So I've had to live it, and I'm grateful to God that a lot of people don't have the standard or the success or the connections that I have, but I'm grateful. And that season humbled me because I don't think I'm all of that. I want to be touchable. I want to always walk in humility. And no matter what God does, I know He gets the glory because it was a mess. And God made that mess my message. And He brought healing to my life and my soul, so I can, with the good news of the gospel, be influential in people's lives. Did I answer your
Mm.
question?
Yes.
I want to try to be respectful.
Hmm.
So I have a
God,
question.
you said you dropped the gem.
He said, "You got a
So
question? What's your
No,
question?"
go ahead, Dante.
okay, so I do have a question. This is for
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people out here listening and whatnot that don't go to church or have a certain genre about the church. How you mentioned earlier how a lot of people in the church are very hypocritical at certain times. Like um something could be going on with them, but they'll kind of cast down on you, make whoever's like trying to enter the church, make them think that the other people are holier than thou. Do you have any like words of encouragement for anybody that's trying to enter a church or anything like that? That is kind of getting shunned out for things that they do or things of their past and things like that. If that makes
Run,
sense.
run, and find you a church that is safe. There is
Mhm.
no perfect church. There is no perfect leader, but God will assign, or whatever you worship, whatever whatever you decide to do. I know in my home, I grew my kids up Christian. Everybody, we're living in an era where everybody doesn't believe in God. And some people will use it as an excuse to not go to church because they do see all of the things that are happening in the body of Christ. And it would make people not even want to go. That's why I try to live a life outside of church, because some of us, our lives are a Bible. Our lives represent Him in such a way. You don't have to always wear a scripture, but sometimes just being kind to people, sometimes just being nice to people. You don't have to go off all the time, or, just exemplifying being genuine. Because one thing I've learned about you all generation, if it's not real, you're going to shut it down. Yeah, you don't even want to hear from it. And so find you somewhere that's safe, that you can be a mess. You do have flaws. You do have issues. We all, healing is a forever. You will never be all the way healed until you close your eyes. Okay? For the last time. But find you somewhere that is safe. Find you somewhere that's safe. I mean, find you somebody that's going to say, "Oh, you messed up. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to help you get back on track, and I'm going to teach you how to not repeat that same thing." Find your big brother in the church. Find you somebody that's really your big brother, your big sister, or a mentor, but somewhere that's safe.
That's good.
Thank you.
I I like how you said earlier. You said making your mess your message. I I like I know we were talking about like we were just talking about church. I never really understood like there was times like where I would be like how you say like hypocritical. Certain people like certain things will happen in certain people's life, and I'll be like, and they like when people give their testimony or whatever, I'm like, dang, like I would never have nothing that big or dramatic happen to me, and then I never thought like because some people's testimony is different. People hurt different. Some people like there's different things that affect certain people, and I didn't really understand like making your mess your message because I don't think my I don't think my message is done yet. If I'm being honest, I feel like my mess was like, well, like you said, like people, when you were talking about like my father when he passed away. When he passed away, it was like I even told you, for that, from that time, from that day until graduation, like it was like, I don't know, like I don't, I'm not trying to say like you noticed or nothing, but it's like I was a completely different person. Like even in my mind, like I was just a completely different person, and it wasn't like necessarily like it. I was no longer operating through God, if that makes sense. Like it was on my own merit. Like I wasn't going to church as much. I would stay home as much. It would be like, you'd be like try to like watch online church, but I felt, in my mind, I would always wonder like why people would leave God. Like why you'd be like, why would you stop like worshiping God? Like why would that ever be a thing? But like when something that traumatic, when you lose something like that, I didn't understand that my mess gonna end up being like me completely turning away from God. Like it got to a point where I was like, where like when I graduated is when I realized like I have been like living 6 months carefree, that if I would have passed away at any time during the 6 months, I it was a 50-50 chance. Like
50-50, man of
going.
God.
And it was because like I yeah, it was 50-50 because like I was
Yeah.
it was because I had completely like I turned like my, not even like a lifestyle, because I've never been like done like anything crazy, but like in terms of like the way I was inside, all that built up anger, all that, like I hadn't dealt with anything. Like you had said, like when you, if you're broken as a kid, like, and when I was in I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, but when I was in eighth grade, I had a trip that I was gonna go on, and it was gonna be my first or second overnight trip that I ever went on for like at the school I was at. And so when my mom was like, she was like, you were, I remember you were like, oh, you gonna ask your dad, can he pay for half of it? And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna ask him. So I asked him, and it wasn't necessarily that it was problem, because I knew it wasn't 100% him. Like now thinking about it, I knew it wasn't 100% him that could make those decisions in his life or in his day to day, because he was sick. He wasn't as sick as he was like later on, but he was sick, and that really soiled me and my dad's relationship, because I was when he went on a trip that same, like a couple weeks later, and I saw pictures and I saw photos of him with my other siblings, and I'm like, well, in my mind, it kind of, I like when my mess started, and I'm like, in my mind, I was like, so you would break and bend over and do for them, but when it came to me, it was a whole different thing. So I was like, well, what's the point of me even trying to do, like, what's the point of me even like having trying to have a relationship with you? And I think when because I just recently, like we talked about, I just got a job, and I'm like leading over the younger young men or whatever. And so when I told them about my testimony, a little bit about me, I told them that like I didn't forgive my dad until I realized that running away from what I thought was my bad situation, because a lot of the stuff that made me move to Vegas, like you said, I feel like we have a lot of similarities in the way we had to go full circle in our life, mom. Because like a lot of the things I was thinking to myself, I was like, I had mentally shut out God, and so that completely weighed my decision in leaving Jacksonville and wanting to go, because it was like I had thought to myself, I was like, there's nothing for me here. There's literally nothing for me here. I can't stand people. People are getting annoying. I was like, I just want to leave. And I was like, and even some of my closest friends were starting to become. I was like, bro, like even I would tell you sometimes, I'd be like, I just can't. I would call you some days. I'd be like, I just don't want to go to school. I just can't. I just can't go to school today. And you would come pick me up like no problem or nothing, because I just had something going on that I didn't even know that was happening to me. But it took me leaving to realize that your pain is going to follow you wherever you go. Like it doesn't matter where you go, no matter how far you run away from it, it's still going to be there. And my my new I everything that I had moved, I moved, the college I picked, all of that was off of not my
Pain.
it was yeah, it was pain because I and when it was a pain and it was an image, because when we came back, I even told you we came back, he was like, you okay? And I was like, I don't know. He was like, why? And I was like, because I sold everybody on a dream, and I sold everybody on a vision, and me coming back is embarrassing because I feel like I didn't complete what I told everybody I was going to do, because I told everybody I'm going on there and I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when we came back, it was embarrassing because people asking me like, why are you back? Why are you back? And having to tell them like, oh, I just didn't like it. It felt like I failed. And I was, and for like a minute, I was like, it felt like I failed. And I was like, but I like said, like, that's not what it was. It wasn't a failure, because ever since we've been back, everything has been opening up for me in plethora of ways, not just in like life in general, but like the podcast, music, all these different things. It's all coming together. Like, and I felt like that making my message was really, that was a really good thing. I like that.
Let me say something right here. Yes, I did see. I saw the change, but I also understood the cycles of grief. And that's why I always came in your room, or I talked to you, or Moo, let's talk. Moo, how you doing? Moo, how you feeling? Or let's get out the house. Or some days I knew you were running. One of the things we do is just not you. Pain causes us to run when we don't deal with it. Then when you have pain and you have anger, it produces a frustration that you can't even handle because you feel like everything is out of control. When we do things temporarily through anger, thinking it's a permanent solution, we hit a brick wall every time, because what you do out of yourself, you become the God over it. You control it. You control how it happens. And so God will allow you until you realize, yo, what have I done? And then it makes you um, think about timing. It makes you consider, um, man, what am I doing? So you start looking inwardly, right? You start taking the time to look inwardly. Then you start asking, why did I do what I do? Because those brick walls make you ask the why question. Pain doesn't make you ask why. Pain forces you just to get out so you don't feel it anymore. And then we falsify our deliverance, or falsify how we feel through stuff and through people. And your image was, if I get to that soil, I'm going to become this. Pain speaks a process that doesn't even, it's almost like pain produces these processes that are unreal, and these measures that are not obtainable. They're not, because pain is like a drug. The reason why people get addicted, because they're trying to go back and get that high that they received when they first hit the drug. You will never get that first high, because that was your first introduction to it. On the other hand, what pain does is whatever you gravitate to so you don't hurt no more, that be shutting down, that means it opens up the gate to depression. If you angry, if you selfish, because anger makes you selfish, it makes you disruptive, it makes you deceptive. You have to hide. So anything that keeps you hiding, pain loves that, because once you hide, then you become open, and you become vulnerable, and you start attaching yourself to things that you know you shouldn't, because that's why I said you got to have the right people around you. Like, yo, what's going on with you? Like, no, what's going on? So when we have this joke that you hid in your, you was in a cave for 6 months. We were in our rooms for 6 months, but during those 6 months, what did it do with your relationship with God? It got you to the point where now I have to really self-reflect. And it's not a prideful thing. You said something. You said, we where we are is not fruitful. And see, sometimes I know we can't just talk about God, but it's in my bones. I got to say this and then I'll move from it. Is this: a lot of people want to live on what God said, right? And so they'll do all of this on what God said. Because if Abraham had a moved on what God said, Isaac would have been dead. Because he told him, take your son, your only son, and you have to make him a sacrifice. So if he had lived in what God said, Isaac would have been dead. But then God said, whoa, wait a minute. The angel said, stay your hand because there's a ram in the bush. That's what God was saying. So a lot of times we will miss our purpose, our dreams, and our destinies. And we will feel like we failed. And because we're so image driven, we're concerned about what the people gonna say. But what if God is saying, that's what I said? I gave you permission. If you want to move, if you want to try it, if you want to go to UNLV, I will allow you. But if you want to be obedient, you got to follow my voice. And I got to let you know what I'm saying. Because just like Elijah, God told him to go to the brook, but God didn't tell him the brook was going to dry up. See, God will give you a plan, but God never gives you the middle. He gives you the beginning when you see it, and he shows you the end, how it's going to look. The middle part is totally relying upon our ability to be obedient. So you had to go through what you went through. And what I tell you, and I tell every young person, every young adult, every grown person, that God doesn't waste nothing. He doesn't waste your pain, your disappointment, and you can't waste it. You cannot waste it. Pain is inevitable. It's going to happen. Disappointments are inevitable. Life is going to life. You have a choice. Will you live from it or will you die from it? Because pain will produce your purpose if you allow it. It's about perspective. Are you going to die in it? Because what? So I understood your cycle of grief. In grief, you do get angry.
Mm-hmm.
You're real angry. You don't want to be bothered with nobody because you feel like the world should stop for you. And then you feel like you just have a whole lot of plethora of emotions going around. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew you was, you had a little crazy moment, but God always knew how to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, you need to bring this back in.
Mm-hmm.
So look, if you never had have had that, if you never had have been dropped, you would never know how to get back up and start again and start producing and start writing. Yeah, you may not have went to UNLV, but look where God has you. You at Full Sail, doing what you're doing, loving it. When you love it, it's not school. When you love it, it's not a job because it's a part of your gift. It's a part of your assignment. And so sometimes you miss the assignment and the thoroughness of your gifting because we get blinded by life and pain. Pain is going to happen, but you can outlive it.
I like that. I like that.
I'm just going to have three parts.
Yeah, so
It's going to be three parts.
I like that. I like that. That was I wanted to say before, like, while we get past that. So um as a lot of people know, I have two twin brothers, little brothers, little light skinned jokers. Uh they're good, very, like, they are very interesting individuals. And I know you say like you see a lot of things that are like you've been raising kids. You've been raising kids
Entire
your entire life. Yes,
entire
like
life.
literally your entire life. Every decade of your life you've had a kid. And my I guess I gotta ask, is there like you say you picked up certain qualities off of your parents. You got your hard work and you got all of that from your parents. You got all of that. Is there certain qualities that you see in me, Ashton Amar, or Bree and Jamal that you can tell are from either our parents or like our dads or from you?
Absolutely, I can. All of you all are go getters. Even Amara Ashton, your DNA, you're a fighter. Like, we're gonna do it. You have that mentality. Once y'all get your minds made up, you're gonna do it. Um, all of you all are like non-tolerant of foolishness. Even in the twins, if something is chaotic around them, they'll withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
If something is chaotic around you, you'll withdraw. If something is chaotic about Brianna, she'll withdraw. If it's something chaotic with Jamal, he'll withdraw. So, yes, I see that. All of you all are very smart. You're highly intelligent. Um, just not book smart. You're wise. You know how to just navigate things, and you figure it out. So, yes, I do. Some of you all have my temperament, Father God, and some of you have your father's temperament. But
Mm.
yes,
I don't think I have your temperament. If I'm being honest, I
no, you have your daddy's temperament.
yeah, I'm a very I'm a I, I'm I don't
Wait a minute, what
I
does that mean?
no because I think Amar Ashton definitely have your temperament because they're very Amar and Ashton are very emotional. Like
Yeah,
I'm emotional too, but Amar and Ashton are like times 1,000.
you're
But
sensitive and emotional.
yeah, they go
Yeah,
hand in hand. But I think I don't think I'm a
you're
I,
very
I'm
kind-hearted,
yeah
and you
I'm
lead
slow to
with your
anger.
heart.
Yeah, I do. And
Yeah, but you
that's
go from 0 to 1,000 when you get angry, and that's dangerous because you have no in between. With your anger, there's no gray. There's black or white.
I think that's
And
a
at least with me, I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to knock you out.
nah. It's hard to get me genuinely angry. Like it's really hard to get me. Like I have never. I'm trying. I can't even think. I can count on my hands the times where I've been like genuinely angry. Like
Yes, yeah, you're right.
I don't like I know you say I go 0 to 100, but I do that. But there's like I can count the few times I've actually ever done that. Like, and I think I've gotten better with it now because I'm trying to like I've been in God crazy this year, so I've been like really trying to watch and like make sure I'm doing everything right,
Yeah,
and so like it's I don't I be trying not because like there's certain times like even like having like when certain things like me and Dante we've been friends. Me and Dante we've never had an argument. Like I've never argued with Dante over anything. Like we argue
Not
over
at
like the
least one
game
we
or
argument.
something like that.
disagree.
But yeah, we would disagree. But we've
Yeah,
never had like we've been mad at each other argument. Like that's
yeah,
never happened. Yeah, we've never really had that even as a friend group. And like I feel like even through all the stuff that we've been through individually as individuals, we've never let that leak into our friendship. And like one thing that I can say about Dante is that when I was talking to Dante one day and we was having a conversation. Dante may not even remember this, but we were on FaceTime having a conversation talking about this is like way back when he was deciding what school to. He was saying he was gonna go to the school for the keys. And I remember everybody he told us all in a group chat. We were all in there, and everybody was laughing at him about it. It was a small school, and like if I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, if I was him, I would just withdraw my thing because I was like, I ain't having nobody laugh at me for going to no what's the name. And Dante stood in there straight face and was like, yeah, I'm going there, like dead serious. He was like, he's like, I want to do this. I want to have my charter business. I want to do that. And like, he doesn't even understand how much that like made me be like, oh, he's locked in for real. Like that like made me think like oh, okay. So like, and like that, and that like certain situations like that is what made this podcast work, because a lot of the things like you say, like go getters, like Dante's a go getter. Like I Dante's a hustler. Like I fully like, if there's anybody on like out of my friends that's gonna go get it, Dante gonna go get it. And that's like one thing I'm like I respect him. Like that's one thing I'll forever respect him for, is like he's a go getter. And I'm like it would be, I was like, that's why I was like, it would be a disservice if we didn't do this. And that's why when we had like a little setback that we had, whatever it was, a little setback we had when starting this podcast, me and Dante had a conversation privately. We was like, you know what, bro? Like, let's just do it. Because it was like, yeah, because it was that go get mentality. And I feel, and I see that like even in you, Ma. Like I see like you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it myself. And that brings me to like a topic right now is your arm candy business with Kathy's arms. And like it started off with you buying bracelets, you had Dante, listen, when we had our the last house we was at before we moved, if you went in my mom's closet, I know you've never been in there, but she had this box, this like Chester
Yeah.
box, and if you open up each drawer,
Mhm.
filled to like the top, which is bracelets, earrings, all
Bracelets.
that, right? Yeah, like everything,
Mhm.
just beads, all that stuff. And so I remember when this was like around COVID time, wasn't it? Like just around, because our my grandmother passed away the year prior
Mhm.
in 2019, right? Or right, the
No,
2020, she
no,
passed away in
she
2020.
2021.
Oh, she passed away in 2020.
She taught me how to do it in 2019.
So sorry, my bad. This is after COVID. We still in the little things, but yes. And so we're going into, she's like, you know what, I'm gonna start making bracelets. And I'm like, okay, I thought I'll tell you, when somebody tell you something, you think it's like a little, it's like, oh, it's a little fling, that, because like sometimes,
Yeah.
we'll start stuff and it's kind of like a, okay. Dante, beads everywhere.
Everywhere. And they
She had
still
a whole bead
everywhere.
table, black bead table
And
beads
they
all over the
still
thing.
everywhere.
Dante, still, like she got them doing almost
Mhm.
every day doing the bees thing. But I wanted to ask what, because I feel like if I said like how it started, it wouldn't be genuine. But like, how did Kathy's Armor Tire come to be?
Those bees pay for your senior fees. Those bees pay for you to go on your senior trip.
Don't hate, man. Don't hate, man.
I can't hate on that. I can't hate on that.
Can't
But
hate on that,
how did
man.
it come to?
But
How did Kathy's Armor Tire come to be?
I was ordering, I walked through my mama's door and I was ordering a set to take on vacation with me. And my mama said, "Why do you keep spending your money?" I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I love arm candy. Everybody knows me for my arm. What do you mean?" She was like, "I'm going to teach you for 3 days how to make this. And it's going to be one of the most lucrative businesses that you've ever put your hands on. And we're going to go, we're going to buy some beads. I'm going to teach." I said, "Mom, I don't have time for that. I really don't have time." She literally made me sit down for 3 days and taught me how to make beads, bracelets.
Mhm.
And I practiced on your Auntie Monica, your Auntie Charlene, and Miss Chantel. They were, and other sisters, Gwen, just all of them. I look at some of the ones they bought or I gave to them to wear when I first started. I'm like, take that mess off, throw it in the trash, burn it. But since then, I just evolved and I went to classes, I went to bead shows. Like it just became a whole business, and it has been one of the most lucrative um six-figure income businesses that I've had. And I was sitting in LA one time eating dinner, and this lady asked me because she bowed off my arm. I had no clue who she was. She asked me, how much was it? I said 65. She gave me $300. And I can't say her name on here because I understand about dropping names on stuff, but trust me, she was huge and all her children are big. So she asked me, could I make her an order of 20 before I left LA? And I said, absolutely. And
Mhm.
so I did. And she gave me $100 for each one. Do the math. And so my clientele I have made for NBA wives, for NBA moms, NFL players, NFL player moms, sisters. Um, I'm getting ready to do something this summer. Um, I can't tell it, but I'm working on something really big to really hit the TV market. And so, artists, preachers, I do wedding party. I mean, it has blown my mind. Like it is. Um, I made them for a an abuse shelter, uh, a homeless
Mhm.
shelter. I made them for a homeless shelter in Africa. Yeah, a women's shelter, a school. Sorry, a girls' school in Africa. And then I have some. I think my camera is off. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. You're good.
Okay. Um, I've made them for a abuse shelter, women's shelter in Puerto Rico. So God has just blessed it,
Mhm.
and the wind of favor is just, yeah, it really, every time I have a sale, I sell out. So it's really been a blessing. It really has.
That's good.
I do it for
Um,
men, women, and kids.
yes, I have a couple.
A lot,
I know. Yeah, I have some in my
a,
bag.
a lot.
My grandma
Yes,
had some.
but
Yeah, man.
but
That's what's up.
I wanted to say just to just to bring this whole thing full circle before we start rounding it up and coming to an end. At the beginning of the podcast, you said the one thing that kept you going was you watched a TV show and you saw people with black dresses and with white pearls on,
Hmm.
and obviously that led you to your, I think one of your biggest things that you've done as a influencer or as a pastor or a minister or a teacher, anything. You did your women's conference, which was it was Save Girls Rock,
Hmm.
and at the end of the women's conference, you had a thing called Black Dress and White Pearls,
Hmm.
and and I wanted to say when you made that goal as a little girl and you saw it come into fruition at the end of the first one, because you ended up doing multiple. So at the end of the first one, was it was it a feeling to where like you felt like you accomplished what that little girl in you set out to do?
Yes and no. I accomplished it because I saw what I saw. I did what I saw. Um, I accomplished it in that way. But the magnitude of what I wanted to do it, Um, I haven't seen it yet. So I'm having something in the works that I'm going to do one here and then one on the West Coast. And just to see it really grow to the magnitude it's supposed to. Because there's so many women who are, and young girls, you know, abuse starts with kids who are in middle school, age 12 and 13, and they misinterpret it as love. So it starts at age 12 or 13 because somewhere in their lives they've seen their mom be hit on and they think that is love. So I want to do it um, bigger, and I'm planning to do it bigger. And there's so many kids and preachers' wives and people who are in Hollywood, or people just in life general, in marriages, are living a secret. It's a secret society because some people don't know that people are being abused until they see the scars. But before there were scars on their heart, there were scars in their family, there were scars through words, before the actual uh, physical beatings happen. So just to make people aware of how abuse starts, it can be financial abuse, seclusion, um, being dominating over a person's life. So just understanding the signs of it. So until I see the magnitude of what it can be, I celebrate small steps. I despise not the day of small beginnings. So I'm excited.
Yes. That is great to know. That is
Yeah,
great to see that that is future things in the works.
it is.
Um so
Got big
this was, yes, big plans. And
major.
great. This was a great
Thank
episode.
you.
This was a
Thank
great
you for
episode.
having me.
Uh
Yeah,
yes,
this
of
one we need
course.
our soundboard.
You taught us
Our
a whole
soundboard.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
you dropped a lot
You
of
dropped
gems.
the
You dropped a
knowledge.
lot of
You
gems.
dropped a lot of
You
knowledge
dropped a
today.
lot of knowledge. Some knowledge you left me and Dante speechless. I ain't gonna lie. You left me and Dante speechless with some of them things. So some of the things I was like, ain't no way she just said that. And I was like, it's out there now. I was like, well, there's not
Yeah.
much you can say. But it was really good. It
Thank
was really good.
you. Thank you. Thank you
And
for
I
having me.
appreciate you
I am
for coming
proud of
on.
y'all. I'm proud of
Thank you
you.
for
And keep
Thank you.
thank
going.
you.
Keep going.
Yes, ma'am. Will do.
Keep
Yes,
going.
ma'am.
What Jay-Z say? Keep showing up. Keep showing up until they recognize who you are. And keep showing up. I'm proud of you
Yes, ma'am.
guys.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome. I
Thank you.
love you.
And I love you
Love
too.
y'all.
And to all of our viewers, um, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black and Wright podcast. We will have another episode on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And it will just be me and Dante again. And then we will have another guest on Saturday. So everybody stay tuned for that. Um,
Yes, sir. Hey, just
it's
want to
been
thank y'all
real.
for tuning in once
Stay
again.
blessed, stay prayed up.
It's been back to us again. Yes, sir. Y'all boys stay blessed. Y'all boys have a
All right.
fantastic day, night. Thank y'all for tuning in.
All right. I'll see
Bye.
Yes,
y'all.
sir.